So for this week, we are going to finish up our final draft of our personal This I Believe essay and submit it to the Dropbox. So let's take a moment to review the directions and the evaluation criteria. So please submit the final draft of your This I Believe essay here. Your final essay should be about 500 words and should include a title. Also, be sure to review the evaluation criteria below before submitting your final draft. Remember that according to the syllabus, you must complete all 3 major assignments in order to pass the course. That would be your This I Believe essay, the rhetorical listening essay that will start next week, and the collaborative project that we'll do at the end of the semester. You'll also be able to return to this assignment later in the semester if you'd like, to refine and revise it further as part of your final exam. So let's look at the evaluation criteria. So a lot of times students don't always understand what their instructor is looking for when they're evaluating their paper. So this is the rubric that I'll be using in my head constantly, kind of funneling through it as I'm reading your paper. So I'm going to be looking at the development of your argument or your purpose for writing the paper. So remember, for this paper, we are identifying your own personal This I Believe statement. So does your essay clearly identify that statement? And do you offer specific supporting details that illustrate that? I'll be looking specifically for making a point and then developing it. I'll also be looking for coherence. And I talked a lot about that in the lesson 2 rough drafts. I pretty much sent a pretty consistent comment to almost everybody that you want to think about developing narrative coherence or organizational coherence throughout the course of your essay. Thinking about introducing your statement, the rising action, the climax, and then the falling action, rather than having just kind of your paper be editorial or kind of vague sentence after vague sentence after vague sentence. We want to have it where it kind of tells a story that comes alive for me, that makes it easier for me to read. It also needs to not be necessarily organized as one long paragraph. Think about breaking it up. So if you offer 2 specific examples, I would probably expect to see at least 2 paragraphs, right? If you're offering 3 examples, 3 paragraphs. Or maybe you're offering 2 examples, but one of them is really long and it would be helpful to break one up in the middle. That's also an option that you have. But you want to think about the organization, right? You also want to think about the insight. So do you consistently draw on insightful observations that are specific and relevant? So are you making an insightful or interesting essay, an argument in your essay? And then finally, you want to look at the convention, the style and mechanics. Now, a lot of times students in an English essay or in an English class get really, really concerned about the convention. They think that, the only thing I care about is grammar and mechanics and where does the period go and, where, did you misspell a word? And what I would encourage you to do is to kind of step back, right? And think and focus primarily on the development and the organization. That's not to say that grammar and mechanics aren't important, but if you'll notice on our rubric here, if our rubric is $1, 75 cents of it is development and organization. Only a quarter of it is going to be convention. So that's not to say that you want to ignore the grammar and mechanics, but don't get hyper fixated and focused on it. Instead, make sure, keep coming back to, did I identify an argument, in this case, my This I Believe statement, and did I support that with specific examples? Have I broken up the text so that it's easy to read and follow? Now, if you are working on some of the grammar and mechanics, I might encourage you to rely on technology and tools that you have available to you. So for example, a really great tool that students can use when writing their papers is called Grammarly. I use it my own writing. They have free versions of it that you can sign up for, and then they also have a paid subscription. Now, I pay for the subscription service just because I write so much that it's helpful for me. But for most students, you could get by with the free version. So let me show you what it looks like. So it's just Grammarly.com, right? It's spelled exactly like it sounds. So it's just Grammarly.com. So you could, in theory, copy and paste your paper. So I copied and pasted my paper into the software here. And so I copied and pasted it, and what it does is it runs it through kind of common grammar rules that you see in your textbook or in a grammar handbook. And it identifies places where those rules might have been broken or it might not be as easy to understand, and it'll flag them for you. That's not to say that you want to go through your paper and change every single thing that they suggest. I would encourage you not to do that at all. Instead, it's an opportunity for you to look at it and go, okay, it's suggesting that I need a comma here. What again was the rule for commas? Let me go back and double check to make sure that it's actually correct when it says I need a comma. Sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. It's just identifying places where you might just want to go back and look again. So for example, you can look here on my paper. Let me zoom in for you just a little bit. So if you look on my paper here, there are 9 alerts that came up, right? And it is saying, and all I did was I went to Grammarly.com, I set up an account, I copied and pasted my paper from Word or from Google Docs into this account. So let's go to, I'll show you, Google Docs. So I open my Google Docs, I go to my assignment, this I believe essay, I copied it, Control A, I copied the essay, and then I opened in Grammarly an account, and I set up an account. It takes all of like 5 minutes. And then I uploaded where it says new. I just copied and pasted my paper into here. And that's what you see right there. So it's identified 9 alerts for me. These are places where it's saying, I think you might need to add a comma, or maybe the phrasing here is a little redundant. So let's look at that. So it's saying right here that I need a comma. Now the rule for commas is that you need to have a complete sentence on both sides if you're going to use a coordinating conjunction. But it was now the mid-1980s and people did not understand the nuances of PTSD. So the coordinating conjunction is and I have a complete sentence on the first half and I have a complete sentence on the second half. So yes, that is correct. I do need a comma there. It's saying here at this next one, it's saying that my paper could be more concise by cutting out excess words. So it's saying the word itself is probably unnecessary here in the context of the sentence. So this pattern repeated itself for several years. All right, so if I were to take that word out, this pattern repeated for several years. Both of those are correct. It's not wrong. It's just saying that maybe it could be more concise. Do I agree with it? I could see how it could be cut to make it more concise. I could see that. All right, so it's saying right here, I need a comma. So now in this case, let's see. The exertion from fighting cancer, along with the unintended side effects of his medication, led to another mental breakdown. Now, I don't have a complete sentence and I don't have a coordinating conjunction with a complete sentence on both sides. It's saying that I would need a comma because it's a clause. But if I add a comma here, I would have to also add a comma there, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to ignore that comment. All right. And now it's saying I could change along with to and. So the exertion from fighting cancer and the unintended side effects of his medication, that is true. It is saying it is wordy, and it's saying that I could substitute 2 words for 1. And it's not changing the meaning, it just makes it a little bit more concise. So I could see that. Okay. All right, now it's saying passive voice. I like the passive voice, so we're just going to leave that there. Passive voice isn't something I would kind of come down on you about, so don't worry about it. All right, so it's saying again that I have maybe an unnecessary article. So it's saying that he died several months later from lung cancer, a cancer that might have been caused. So I'm using the article here intentionally, so I'm not going to cut it. I like it there. I'm going to leave it there. And then it's saying I have a preposition at the end of the sentence. I like it there. I'm going to leave it. Well, actually, you know what? I don't like it. Maybe I am going to take it out. Okay, done. That was easy, right? Now it's saying, oh, maybe you do need the preposition. All right, so now it's saying we need a comma. And in doing so, yes, I did a comma there. You can almost hear it. Okay, and then that's it. So it's checked my paper. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't any errors. It doesn't mean the paper is perfect, but it just gives me another tool in my rhetorical tool belt of sorts to look at this paper and look at my writing and make sure that it's as grammatically correct as possible. And so then I would just copy it and paste it back into my This I Believe essay here in Google Docs. So that is just one tip or suggestion, one tool that you have that you might experiment with and utilize to help you with your writing. All right, so if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I am always online. I'm always available. Or we can meet in during office hours in WebEx and talk in real time, like real people. All right, have a good day. Bye.